The shuttle trembled as it pierced the thin atmosphere of the planet. Outside, the sky was a sickly green, streaked with dark clouds that twisted unnaturally. From space, the planet had looked like a dead rock. But now the humans inside the small transport could see it was anything but lifeless. Towering mountains jutted jaggedly into the sky. Rivers of thick, bubbling liquid ran through the valleys, and forests of twisted, sharp-edged plants stretched as far as the eye could see. Lieutenant Mara Khan gripped her seat, staring at the view screen. This is worse than they said," she muttered. Beside her, Captain Elias Rourke didn't speak, his jaw tight, eyes scanning the instruments. He had trained for dangerous planets before, but this was something else. The Alien Council had called it a Class 0 Deathworld, a place that no known species could survive for more than a few hours. To them, humans were just an experiment, a fragile species sent to fail. The shuttle shuddered violently. A gust of corrosive wind blew past the hull. Warning lights flashed, signaling the need for immediate landing adjustments. Mara gritted her teeth. "Hang on, we're going down." With careful precision, Rourke guided the shuttle through the chaotic atmosphere. Lightning-like storms raged across the sky, striking the planet's surface in brilliant, dangerous flashes. The shuttle shook with every strike, metal creaking under stress. The alien observers, watching from a distant orbital station, exchanged digital signals of amusement. They were certain humans wouldn't last a day. Finally, the shuttle touched down on a rocky plateau. The landing gear sank slightly into the soft, semi-liquid surface. The cabin was filled with a tense silence. Then Mara spoke, her voice steady but quiet. "Everyone, we made it. Get your suits on. Let's see what we're dealing with." Outside, the world was as hostile as it had appeared. Acidic rain dripped from jagged clouds, sizzling as it hit the rocks. Strange, thick vines moved slightly, as if sensing their presence. The air was heavy, smelling of sulfur and metal. Mara took a deep breath through her mask, trying to ignore the sting of the acidic particles on her skin. "First step," Rourke said, checking his scanner. "We set up the camp, get shelter, and find water. Anything else is optional." The team moved carefully, each step deliberate. The ground was treacherous. Black, sticky mud sucked at their boots, and sudden cracks in the surface threatened to swallow them whole. They spotted strange creatures flitting in the distance, some with glowing eyes, others with sharp claws bigger than a human arm. Mara's pulse raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. "Watch the skies," Rourke warned. "This planet has predators we can't even imagine." They reached a small plateau, relatively flat and free from immediate dangers. It would have to do for their first shelter. The humans began setting up portable shields and tents, their hands working with practiced precision. Despite the Alien Council's belief that humans would panic, everyone moved with quiet efficiency, driven by a survival instinct older than any protocol. While others worked, Mara scanned the surroundings. Her eyes caught movement, a large shadow slipping between jagged rocks. She froze. "Something's out there," she whispered. Before anyone could react, a massive creature lunged from the rocks. Its body was covered in thick scales that reflected the greenish light of the sky. Long, serrated claws dug into the ground as it roared, a sound that shook the humans to their core. The team scattered, drawing weapons, but the creature didn't attack directly. Instead, it circled, testing them. Mara noticed something odd. The creature hesitated when humans moved together. It didn't seem fearless, it seemed cautious. "Stay calm," she said. "Don't panic. Show it we're not easy prey." Minutes stretched into tense silence. Slowly, the creature backed off and disappeared into the shadows. The humans exhaled collectively. They had survived the first encounter. The alien observers, monitoring the scene, transmitted nervous signals. No species had lasted this long on the planet without heavy intervention. Night fell quickly. The sky turned an eerie, dark green, Lightning storms illuminated the jagged terrain, revealing glimpses of enormous trees with bark like metal, leaves sharp as blades, and streams glowing faintly with phosphorescent chemicals. The humans huddled in their shelters, sharing food rations and keeping watch. Fear lingered, but it was tempered by determination. "We need to understand this place," Rourke said. "If we don't, we won't last a week." Mara nodded. "Agreed. We start small. Food, water, shelter, then explore. Step by step." The next day, the team began foraging carefully. They discovered strange plants with thick, rubbery leaves and fruits covered in spikes. Some were poisonous, burning through gloves and masks alike. Others were edible but bitter. Using their training and observation, they began experimenting, learning which flora could sustain them. Rourke watched Mara, impressed. "You're fearless," he said. "That's going to save us more than any weapon." They soon realized that the planet's hazards weren't always immediate. Some dangers were subtle plants that emitted toxic spores, rocks that erupted steam without warning, insects with venom that could paralyze within minutes. Every step was a test, every choice a gamble. Yet humans adapted. They learned to wear makeshift armor from plant fibers, to purify water with chemical packs, to set traps for smaller predators. Each victory, no matter how small, bolstered their confidence. The alien observers' predictions continued to fail. Humans didn't just survive, they improvised. A week passed. The humans had built a rudimentary base with shields, strong enough to withstand acid rain and small predators. They had learned the patterns of dangerous storms, found edible fungi that grew near toxic rivers, and even discovered a small freshwater spring hidden in a canyon. Their health remained stable, morale surprisingly high. Late one evening, Mara stood atop a ridge, scanning the horizon. The sky was alive with lightning, and shadows of enormous creatures moved in the distance. She felt a thrill, a mix of fear and excitement. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. "We will survive." Rourke joined her. "They sent us here thinking we'd die," he said. "They don't understand humans." Mara smiled faintly. "Maybe they never will." The first part of their journey ended not with defeat, but with resilience. Humanity had stepped onto a Deathworld, and against every expectation, they survived the first trials. This planet was hostile, brutal, and unforgiving, but for humans, it was only the beginning. Their real challenge had just begun. The first week on the Deathworld had been brutal, but humanity had survived. By now, the humans had learned to treat the planet not as an enemy, but as a puzzle. Every challenge, every danger, was something they could study, understand, and sometimes even turn to their advantage. Lieutenant Mara Khan walked along the edge of their small base. Acid rain had passed earlier, leaving the rocks steaming and slick. Strange, glowing fungi had started to grow along the canyon walls, and Mara paused to examine them. Some of the mushrooms emitted a soft light, and their spores had a faint metallic smell. Careful testing with their portable scanner revealed that they were edible though bitter, and could provide much-needed nutrients. Captain Elias Rourke joined her, carrying a bundle of harvested plants. "We can make basic food out of this," he said. "Not delicious, but it will keep us alive." Mara nodded. Survival isn't about comfort. It's about staying alive long enough to learn more. Around the base, humans worked tirelessly. Engineers rigged up filtration systems to clean water from the toxic rivers. Botanists studied the local flora, carefully identifying which plants were dangerous and which could be useful. Scouts mapped nearby areas, marking predator territories, unstable ground, and hidden resources. Every day was dangerous, but every day they gained knowledge that could save lives. It wasn't long before they realized that the planet's dangers had patterns. Predators often hunted at night, avoiding acidic sunlight during the day. Certain plants release toxins only when disturbed, and some seem to react to sound or vibration. Mara began organizing small teams to observe these patterns. One morning, the scouts spotted a massive predator, a creature twice the size of their shuttle lurking near a valley. It had armored scales and glowing eyes, and it moved with surprising speed. The team froze, hearts pounding. But Mara noticed something unusual. When the human stayed calm and moved slowly, the creature didn't charge. Instead, it watched, then walked away. Rourke studied the data from the scouts. It's learning. Or at least, it's cautious. Humans aren't just prey. We're interesting to it. The humans began using this observation to their advantage. They set up traps to divert smaller predators, learned how to navigate through dangerous areas without attracting attention, and even started creating barriers with local materials. Every day, their survival skills improved, and they gained a confidence the Alien Council had never expected. Food remained a challenge. The edible fungi were barely enough to sustain them, and the metallic-tasting fruits were harsh on the stomach. But humans are adaptable. They learn to combine bitter plants, fungi, and filtered water into small meals. Engineers discovered a way to heat them using energy cells, making them more palatable. It wasn't gourmet, but it was enough to keep everyone healthy. One day, Mara led a team deeper into the forest to test new traps. They moved quietly, careful not to disturb any plants or animals. The forest was alive with strange sounds, buzzing, screeching, and the occasional roar of distant predators. They reached a clearing where a strange vine-like plant covered the ground. Mara tested its resilience, pulling gently at the thick tendrils. The plant reacted violently, shooting out small spikes. "Careful," she warned. "Everything here is dangerous, even the plants." As they worked, a small predator appeared, a creature no bigger than a dog, but with razor-sharp claws. Instead of attacking, it paused, sniffing the air. Mara motioned to the team to stay calm. Slowly, they retreated, letting the creature move on. It was a small victory, understanding that not all danger required confrontation. At night, the humans gathered in the base. They shared discoveries, exchanged observations, and planned the next day's activities. Every human voice carried a note of pride. They were not just surviving, they were adapting. One of the engineers, Li Wei, had discovered something remarkable. Using a combination of chemical filters and heat, he could extract small amounts of energy from the planet's acidic rivers. This energy could power basic tools, lights, and communication devices. It wasn't much, but it meant the humans were beginning to use the planet itself as a resource. "Every time we find a way to use the planet, we get stronger," Mara said. "We have to keep pushing." The alien observers were growing increasingly frustrated. They had sent probes and watched carefully, expecting humans to perish within a week. Yet, every day, humans learned something new, and every day, they survived. The Alien Council began to debate among themselves. "They should not still be alive," one alien leader said. Its voice was a series of clicks and hums, translated for the observation logs. "The planet's hazards are extreme. They cannot continue to survive." "They are remarkable," another replied. "Perhaps we underestimated them." Meanwhile, Mara and Rourke noticed another change. The humans weren't just surviving, they were beginning to manipulate the environment. They had built simple barriers, dug trenches, and even redirected small streams to create safer pathways. Predators that once terrorized them now hesitated near human settlements. Humans had become a part of the ecosystem, not just victims of it. One day, a young scout named Jaren reported something unusual. "I saw tracks," he said, pointing to enormous claw marks in the mud. "Something bigger than anything we've seen before." Mara frowned. "How big?" "Much bigger," Jaren replied. "Bigger than our shuttle." The team prepared cautiously. This was their first encounter with a true apex predator of the planet. They moved as a unit, weapons ready, scanners active. As they approached the creature's territory, it appeared a massive beast with armored scales, glowing eyes, and claws that could crush rocks. It roared, shaking the trees. But humans were not panicked. They had learned patience and observation. Instead of charging, Mara ordered the team to hold position. The creature studied them, then slowly retreated, unnerved by their calm and coordinated behavior. Back at the base, Mara analyzed the encounter. "It's learning," she said. "It recognizes our actions, our patterns. It's testing us." And we passed. The humans' confidence grew. They built more sophisticated traps, crafted better tools, and discovered new ways to stay safe. Every day was still dangerous, but they were no longer mere survivors. They were becoming masters of this death world. One morning, a group of humans discovered a hidden canyon filled with glowing minerals. The minerals seemed to have energy properties that could be harvested. Mara and Rourke immediately recognized the opportunity. With these minerals, they could power tools, lights, and possibly even communication equipment to reach orbit. "This planet is dangerous," Mara said, examining the minerals. "But it is also full of opportunities. We just have to be smart." Rourke nodded. "Every challenge here teaches us something. Every danger we face makes us stronger." By the end of the second month, the humans had transformed their small base into a functioning outpost. They had established routines, safety protocols, and even a small garden using local plants. Their understanding of the planet's ecosystem allowed them to predict weather patterns, avoid predators, and make use of resources that once seemed deadly. The Alien Council continued to monitor them, increasingly baffled. "They should have perished long ago," the observers said. "Yet they thrive. They adapt faster than any species we have encountered." Mara looked out over the ridge one evening, watching the strange green sky. Thunder rumbled in the distance. But the humans below were safe, working efficiently. She felt a quiet pride. They had not just survived, they had adapted, turned a death world into a home, and learned to thrive where no one believed it possible. "This is only the beginning," she whispered to Rourke. "They sent us here to die. But we are stronger than they imagined. And they will learn. They will all learn." The humans had faced impossible odds and won small victories every day. They were no longer prey. They were survivors, explorers, and pioneers. The death world was harsh and relentless, but it had also become their proving ground. And in that proving ground, humanity was beginning to shine. The humans had been on the death world for months. What the Alien Council had predicted as a swift and inevitable extinction had become something far different. The small human base had grown into a functioning outpost, carefully shielded from acid rains and dangerous predators. Humans had learned the rhythms of the planet, the storms, the aggressive plants, the stalking creatures. Lieutenant Paragon stood on the ridge overlooking the base. The green sky was alive with flashes of electricity, and shadows of massive predators moved in the valleys below. But Mara was not afraid. For the first time, she felt the full power of human resilience. They were no longer merely surviving, they were beginning to control their fate. Captain Elias Rourke approached, carrying a pack filled with recently discovered minerals. "We've found more energy sources in the Eastern Canyon," he said. "If we process them, we can power all of our tools and traps. We might even send a signal to orbit." Mara nodded. "Good. It's time to take the next step. We've learned this world's dangers. Now, we use that knowledge." The humans began their plans in earnest. They constructed larger barriers and more effective traps for predators. Using the glowing minerals they had discovered, they created portable energy shields to protect their teams while exploring. They studied predator behavior closely and developed tactics to lure the most dangerous creatures into areas where they could be controlled or avoided. One day, a scout returned with urgent news. "There's something huge moving near the northern ridge," he said, panting. "I've never seen anything like it. Scales the size of our shuttle, claws that could crush a tree, and eyes glowing red." Mara and Rourke studied the data. "It's an apex predator," Mara said. "The ultimate challenge on this planet. But we've faced threats before. We can handle it." The humans prepared carefully. They built reinforced traps, placed energy barriers, and set up observation points. They knew that rushing in would be suicide. Instead, they used patience, strategy, and teamwork, the same qualities that had kept them alive for months. When the creature finally appeared, it roared, shaking the ground. Its massive claws tore through trees as it approached. The humans stayed calm. Mara signaled her team, and the coordinated effort began. The trap worked. Using bait and careful timing, the humans guided the predator into a canyon where their energy barriers and makeshift spike traps could immobilize it. The creature struggled, furious and powerful, but the humans had anticipated every move. Slowly, it succumbed to their strategy without a single human being harmed. The alien observers watched in disbelief. No species had ever mastered this planet's apex predators, yet humans had done it with ingenuity and coordination. "Impossible," one alien leader muttered. "They are adapting faster than any life form should." The humans did not stop there. They began exploring deeper into the Deathworld. Using the minerals and the knowledge they had gained, they built more sophisticated equipment, lighting systems, communication devices, and mobile shelters. They mapped areas previously thought too dangerous to enter, discovering hidden valleys filled with edible plants and freshwater streams. Mara led one expedition into a deep canyon where a strange energy anomaly was detected. The walls of the canyon glowed faintly, and the air hummed with a low vibration. As the humans explored, they realized the minerals in the area could amplify their energy devices, giving them power far beyond what they had before. "This planet isn't just deadly," Mara said, examining the glowing stones. "It's full of resources we can use. It's teaching us how to survive and thrive." Rourke looked out over the canyon. "We've gone from prey to pioneers. We've turned their Deathworld into a stronghold." Wordlessly, the humans continued their work. They began experimenting with small-scale energy devices to deter predators and fortify their base. Traps that once only captured small creatures were now able to redirect even the largest threats. Human ingenuity and determination had created a safe zone in the middle of the most hostile world imaginable. Even the planet itself seemed to respond to their presence. Strange plants that had once lashed out now grew in controlled patterns near their base, some even providing food or raw materials. Predators seemed to respect the humans' boundaries, avoiding areas they had fortified. The humans were no longer at the mercy of the Deathworld, they were beginning to command it. Then, a challenge unlike any before emerged. A massive storm, far larger than any before, swept across the planet. Winds howled like living beasts, and acid rain fell in torrents. Trees were uprooted, rivers overflowed, and the ground itself trembled. The humans faced what should have been certain doom, but they were ready. Shelters built with reinforced energy barriers held fast. Systems to divert and neutralize dangerous liquids worked. Human teams coordinated evacuations of vulnerable areas and secured food and water supplies. They weathered the storm with no casualties, emerging stronger than before. Mara stood on the ridge after the storm, surveying the damage. The planet was harsh and relentless, but the humans had survived, learned, and adapted. "Every time they throw something at us," she said, "we turn it into a lesson, into strength." The alien council continued to observe in silence. The data coming in was staggering. Humans were thriving on a Deathworld designed to destroy them. They had built infrastructure, mapped resources, dominated predators, and adapted to lethal conditions faster than any theoretical model predicted. "They are extraordinary," one alien whispered. "Not just survivors, masters of the environment." The humans, however, did not boast. They continued exploring, improving, and learning. They established a long-term outpost, with a network of shelters, energy systems, and cultivated resources. Teams went further into the planet than anyone expected, discovering hidden canyons, mineral deposits, and safe zones where predators were scarce. It was during one such expedition that Mara made the defining discovery. Deep inside a cavern, she found an enormous subterranean chamber, glowing with the same energy minerals they had been using. The chamber pulsed with raw power, seemingly untouched by the harsh surface conditions. Mara realized that with this energy source, they could expand their outpost, improve defenses, and even signal for contact beyond the planet. "This is it," she said. "The Deathworld isn't our prison. It's our proving ground. Everything we've learned, everything we've survived, It leads here. Rourke smiled. We've gone from the hunted to the hunters. From prey to pioneers. They sent us here to die. And we've turned it into a fortress. Humans began harvesting the chamber's energy, building devices that amplified their shields, tools, and communication systems. Using this newfound power, they even managed to send a signal to orbit. For the first time, humans broadcast a message not for help, but to announce their survival and strength. The Alien Council, monitoring the signal, could not believe what they saw. Instead of a plea for rescue, they received a demonstration of human ingenuity, resilience, and mastery over the planet. Every prediction they had made, every calculation about human weakness had been proven wrong. They underestimated us, Mara said to Rourke, watching the signal transmit. They thought this world would break us, but it didn't. And it never will. The humans had not only survived, they had thrived. They had turned a Deathworld into a home, a laboratory, and a fortress. They had mastered predators, harnessed resources, and built a civilization where none should have existed. The Alien Council was forced to acknowledge something they had never believed possible. Humans were extraordinary. As Mara looked out over the transformed landscape, she felt a deep sense of pride. The Deathworld had tested them in every way. But humanity had risen to the challenge. Where the galaxy had seen weakness, they had proven strength. Where others saw fragility, they had shown adaptability. Where everyone else had predicted death, humans had forged life. This is only the beginning, Mara whispered. If we can survive here, if we can thrive here, there is nothing in the galaxy that can stop us. The human story was no longer one of survival. It was a story of triumph, ingenuity, and determination. Against impossible odds, they had not only survived, they had conquered, turning the deadliest planet in the known universe into a testament to human strength, and the galaxy would never forget it.